handoff. Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose. He splits the defense. 50, 40, 30. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown!
We bleed purple and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome. Behold, we are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores. We roar, ignite the stands.
Hello there, Minnesota Vikings fans. You are listening to the Purple People podcast. Hey, guess what? We beat the Raiders. You guys excited? Adam Carlson and Kyle Smith.
There were some positives, there were some negatives, and I'm sure we'll talk about all of them. But all in all, I was just glad to see some Minnesota Vikings football action on my television.
It's definitely good to get the first game out of the way. But yeah, we'll get into all that. Just glad to have Viking football back.
Absolutely. I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 112 of the Purple People podcast. This number just keeps getting bigger every episode, and I know that it has to happen that way, but 112 just seems crazy. This episode's titled Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love that movie. I've always liked Indiana Jones.
Big Raiders of the Lost Ark fan, so I appreciate that one.
Not too shabby. Good references there.
Mm-hmm.
We got some quick hits because I know everyone loves those. First off, the Minnesota Vikings have released wide receiver Lester Jean from injured reserve. They brought him in hoping that he could be a deep threat as a number 5 or 4 wide receiver. Turns out that the injury was more severe than they thought, and they had a 1-year deal with him. And rather than keep him on injured reserve, they released him. Another gentleman that was released by the Minnesota Vikings for strange reasons was tight end A.C. Leonard. I don't really know what happened there. He spent a lot of training camp on the sidelines because of a headache and a couple other weird things that I remember being named. But either way, A.C. Leonard had a lot of potential, and I hope he gets his stuff together and catches on somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a really kind of a strange situation. Like you said, it was never said that it was a concussion, but he sat out with headache-like symptoms. Of course, he did have that strange Free Hernandez tweet from earlier in the season that was never really explained if that was him or if his account was hacked or what. So I'm not really going to go making things up, but that's just two incidences that you can kind of point to and say, maybe that was why he was released.
Just an odd situation all around there. Here was one that caught me out of the blue. The University of Minnesota is attempting to ban the use of the Redskins name on their campus. This includes the game that is scheduled to be played between Minnesota and Washington at the Gopher Hole, also known as TCF Bank Stadium. That could be a major problem going forward here.
It's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I agree. Why? I mean, this is just like with our African American fans. If you're not black, African American, whatever, I'm not trying to offend anyone. Don't get offended by the N-word. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't preferably use it. I don't care. I think it's stupid to say it because it could be twisted one way or another just because of a race. But if you're not a Native American, why are you getting butthurt about it? Just
now,
leave it
I'm a Native American descendant. I live on a
Yes.
Native American Indian reservation here. And I have not met a lot of people on the reservation here that feel like this is a major issue worth fighting for.
It's
just oversensitive America. That's all it is. It's the new America.
Now, I understand the University of Minnesota's point, though, because a lot of the funding that came for the stadium there on the college campus came from the nearby tribes.
But they
So I
knew
can see
they knew this was coming when they agreed to let the Vikings play there.
that's how I feel about it.
I really feel like, okay, we're going to let them play here, and then we're not going to tell them that we have a problem with this until way later on, until it's almost time to play.
Until after they've made all the adjustments to the field.
Yeah,
and
it's
all
like,
this
oh,
other
okay,
stuff.
well, if they had a problem with it, they should have brought it up when they
Long time ago.
It's just dumb.
Yes, there's either a communication issue there, or maybe the game will have to be moved to a neutral location. I have no idea what's
Yeah, maybe
going
we
on
can
here.
go
Hopefully,
play
we'll
it on.
find out more about this
Maybe we can go
in
play
the
it on
next couple
Ford
weeks.
Field.
But either way, it could be a mess. It could be something that gets worked out very easily.
Just move the game to
Either way, it's something to
Washington.
keep your eye on.
I
All
get
right, so the
worked up.
Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, I figure we'll just move on from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him.
The Minnesota Vikings have hired Joe Marciano to fill in for suspended Mike Prefer while he is out. It's a great hire for the Vikings. He's a very experienced coach.
Yes.
Shouldn't see a drop off at all.
No, I am pretty pleased with the hire. I like it. It makes sense.
The Minnesota Vikings have signed tight end Corey Speary, one of new offensive coordinator Norv Turner's former pass catchers. Be interesting to see how much he gets used in the next couple preseason games.
Do you know what jersey number he is wearing, Mr. Carlson?
69?
89.
I was gonna call it, man. Damn it. Ah.
Because I personally have two number 89 jerseys.
Mm-hmm. The beauty
And
is
I
that
like them.
no one will know if they're supposed to be customized or related to a former player on the team.
That's true. Very true. My last quick hit's even odder than any of the ones I've mentioned before.
Hey, we like odd things here at the show.
So, Minnesota Vikings defensive tackle Linval Joseph was out partying, having a good time after the preseason game, and I understand because they played pretty well. Linval Joseph on that first team defense kicked some butt. After celebrating at the club in Minneapolis, a stray bullet from some strange shooting that I don't quite understand happened to nick him in the leg. And he will sit out the remainder of the preseason, from what I've been reading, but that they expect him to be ready to go for the regular season.
Just go home.
Yeah. Here comes 40-year-old Kyle Smith. Nothing good happens after dark. Blah, blah, blah. I know you guys have lots of money. I know you're very popular in the town. I get it. But just use this as an example. I mean, the good thing is we don't have a Plexico burst here. At least someone else shot at him instead of him shooting himself. Mm-hmm. He's not an idiot. This was just an innocent bystanding event, which when I read it and they said he got shot, I almost crapped myself. I was like, first of all, no, please no. But then I read the story and I was like, okay, cool. But be aware of your surroundings, maybe. I don't know. But that sucks, man. I'm not going to do the lecturing thing. I don't want to sound like a nerd, and you got to have a personal life. I get it. But I know the other two guys will be with me here. We wish you a speedy recovery. Probably, besides Captain Munnerlyn, my favorite free agent signing for the Vikings this year. I hope you're up to speed. I hope it doesn't affect you, and get well soon, man. That sucks.
Absolutely.
I don't want to blow it out of proportion because he was an innocent bystander in something that was not directed towards him. From what I've read, it was just like a random act of violence that occurred that he just unfortunately happened to be a part of. But with that said, just go home. Like we're talking about preseason game. You need to go out to a club and like celebrate a preseason win. No, you don't. It's like we paid you a lot of money to come here to play for the Minnesota Vikings. Go home, go play Xbox, go play PlayStation, whatever. You've got 6 months in the
Let the guy go and have fun. Come on.
No. You've got 6 months or longer in the off season that you can go out and you can go out to clubs and you can go out with your friends and you can do this, you can do that. Just go home, go back to the dorms and forget about it. Don't party that you beat the Raiders in the preseason. Just don't do it. That's my rant for the day. Next topic, please.
Well, I'd like to say one more thing, though. How badass does it sound for Linval Joseph to get shot in the leg and just kind of go to the hospital, get checked out, come back out, and be like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'll play. That sounds pretty badass.
I don't know. That. I mean, you're already a refrigerator of a man anyways, mm-hmm. But that just added to your badassery. And then you could just be like, hey, man, you tired today? I got shot in the leg earlier.
Exactly.
What's
Like
your
it's no big
excuse?
deal whatsoever. All right, and that's all I have for quick hits. I'm thinking that Mr. Kyle Smith has some questions from social media for us.
I do. Thank you guys for all your feedback on the Purple People podcast Facebook page. And I want to say thanks to, I don't have your name off the top of my head. I'm really sorry. But we had audio issues because Kyle was gone for a little bit. And he let us know recently that they are fixed again and that we sound good. So we do read all of your stuff. 99% of the time, we all get it directly and we all go straight from our phones. But anything you want. So just let us know if any way we can improve or if you have any suggestions, we will take them into consideration. But
Absolutely.
on the August the 6th, I asked question of the week. Post a comment below with a question, and I'm going to pick one or two. And I picked out two good questions. Not to say that all of them weren't, but we have bandwidth we have to save. So Corbin Johnson with the $1 million question that's been covered by ESPN and NFL Network. I'm going to give my opinion on it right meow. What do I think of the quarterback situation, and who gives us the best chance to make the playoffs? We're going to go from worst to first. Christian Ponder being worst, not that I think you're a bad person or a bad quarterback, but I think it's pretty clear that he's quarterback number 3. And I'm not going to say that he has a guaranteed spot on the team. I know we'll probably keep 3 quarterbacks for the holy crap situation. 2 people went down any given Sunday type deal. But who knows? I've seen stranger things, but it doesn't look good for him. He's not getting a lot of first team reps. Number 2, Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not saying this because I don't have faith in Teddy. I think everything takes time. Not everybody can come out like Russell Wilson and win the starting job as a rookie, but he does have a talented cast to succeed. However, I think he's going to show rookie jitters. I think he's going to make rookie mistakes. And if you're talking about getting into the playoffs, take a guy who's been to the playoffs, who's got 2 Pro Bowls under his belt, get him the money that we paid him to do. And as of right now, on August the 11th, I would put Matt Castle in, and I think he gives us the best chance to go to the playoffs. Just my opinion. I think he has good chemistry with a lot of the key main players. He tries to look for the good weapons that we have when he's not handing it off to AP. And leads me into question number 2. Steven, and I messed up your last name. You can yell at me in a message. Bjoin, Bjoin. Bjoin, that sounds about right. What will our record be when we hit the bye week? Another juicy question. We're going to cover this at some point before the season starts, but I'm going to tease you with what I have now. If we do terrible, call me the Karma Queen or whatever you want to call me, bad names, but I have good faith and understanding, and I live in reality, so bear with me. I believe we can roll into St. Louis in week 1 and win. There's no doubt about it. 2 years ago, we went in and we stomped the living hell out of them with Christian Ponder as the quarterback. No offense, Christian, still, sorry. And AP just ran mad, and, we were awesome. We have an improved defense. Our offense, like I was saying before the show started, we were 13th overall last year with a quarterback rotation of 3. So I think we can go in week 1 and beat the Rams. I'm sorry for week 2 and 3, but I don't see us beating the Patriots, and I definitely don't see us beating New Orleans at home. Not to say that we can't. Like I said, I've seen stranger things. We almost put a 50-burger on the NFC East champion Eagles last year. But the Pats have a very, very improved defense, and in my opinion, the number 2/3 best quarterback in the NFL right now. It's going to be really hard to beat them, and Bill Belichick is a mastermind. So with that leading into the Saints don't lose at home. They don't lose at home. It sucks to say it, but they don't. And I don't foresee us, especially with Matt or Teddy being there. I don't know that we could beat them, but I think we can give both of those teams a run for their money. It won't be a blowout. Let's make these last couple quick so I can shut up. The Falcons, I do believe we will beat them at home. We will split 2 and 2. The Green Bay Packers, it's their division to lose this year. I'm sorry. I heard it on the radio today from 2 different shows. It is their division to lose. Their defense is going to be very good. I'm sorry. And it's not what you're known for. You think of Aaron Rodgers and a big arm and blah, 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 blah. But I think in Green Bay we'll lose. We could challenge them at home. And here's my bold prediction. The last 4 up until our bye week. I've got all wins against the Lions, the Bills, the Bucks, and the Redskins. None of those teams absolutely scare me. The Lions lost Kiko Alonso, their best defensive player. I'm sorry, that's Bills. The Lions, as much as I love their offensive weapons that they got in the draft, I just don't see Matt Stafford making the leap unless Jim Caldwell, I think that's who they hired, unless he can coach him up really quick, really fast. He makes a lot of bad decisions, and we have a better defense. The Bucks will be interesting. We'll get to meet Leslie Frazier in his Tampa too. They have a lot of weapons. They spent a lot of money, but they have Josh McCown, and we did beat the Bears last year with Josh McCown. So bear with me there. And the Redskins. I don't care if you got Deshaun Jackson. I think their defense is old, and I think we can beat them. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's a string there of a couple kind of softer defenses. Personally, I don't think that the Packers did enough to really improve their defense, so I still wouldn't consider them a major threat. But that Detroit Lions defense, I don't understand why they drafted the way they did. They loaded up on more offense instead of focusing on fixing that secondary, which was necessary, or finding a replacement for Sue, who will be gone this year, because there's no way they'll be able to afford to sign him back.
And they're not doing anything to try to keep him there, or even tell him to hint to him, hey, we want to keep you around. Like, no, you just have to wait. That guy's an emotional player. He's going to want to feel loved, as many NFL players do. So,
absolutely. It's always good to feel wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You can come to Minnesota, play for.
Yeah, come on over, man. Just
play for Mike Zimmer. You trust me. He'll. Oh.
Can you imagine having him and Big Linval, and then who is it? Sharif Floyd. God, ooh, good Lord! Come on, see, you got this started now. Now we're going to talk about next week.
All right, let's go into the game recap. Let's have Kyle West head this one off, because we don't usually get Kyle West leading off a lot of our topics.
Oh, I get to lead off on a topic today. I feel so important.
I like it.
Okay, we're going to talk about the smackdown that our first team unit laid down on the Oakland Raiders, because I think it's important to. You can talk about the game as a whole, but I think it's more important to kind of look at it in sections. Like, you had your first team unit, and then your second team, and then your third string. So the first team unit guys, and that was with Matt Castle at quarterback, no Adrian Peterson. He did not play, was not expected to play. But they were able to go down the field. They drove the ball 70-some odd yards in 10 plays. They were able to get a touchdown. I thought they looked really crisp. Pretty solid out there for an offense that did not feature AP. And even though it was, quote, the vanilla version of Norv Turner's offense, I would say that Norv Turner's vanilla play calling was more creative than Bill Musgrave's actual regular season play calling that we seen last year. I am a big fan of what Norv Turner is going to be doing, and I cannot wait to see the full playbook unfold. I was really quite impressed with Matt Castle. I think that was one of his better outings. And if you can continue to get the good Matt Castle, he is a quarterback that you can most definitely win games with. You just have to minimize the bad Matt Castle, who likes to occasionally get passes batted down at the line and make a few more mistakes than what you would care to see from a veteran. But overall, I was impressed with it. How about you guys?
My impression of the offense is I really enjoyed watching Matt Asiata play with that first team offense, because I thought that he was one of the guys last year that put a lot of the weight on his shoulders and really helped put a couple of those wins on the board. So Matt Asiata in the first game was he may have only gotten the 1-yard touchdown because Kyle Rudolph couldn't extend his arm far enough, but still, it's good to get in the end zone. Mm-hmm. A guy that really impressed me the most on the offensive side of the ball was Cordero Patterson. That route running looked crisp. He looked like a target that the quarterbacks weren't afraid to throw the ball to at all. Matt Castle looked, like you said, he looked like a professional NFL quarterback. Went out there and got his job done against the number 1 defense. And overall, a couple of the other guys on offense that kind of did it for me was I got that first pass from Teddy Bridgewater. The one to Greg Jennings on the sideline that got negated because of a penalty from the offensive line. That is the kind of Teddy Bridgewater that I'm used to seeing. After a couple of those penalties on the line, he looked like he wasn't able to snap back to get himself together. A professional NFL quarterback has to do that. So that's something that I think will have to happen. Jerick McKinnon opened the game on fire. I really enjoyed watching him run. I'm one of the ones that was skeptical of his selection that early. At first, I was thinking, man, I may be wrong about this kid, but as the game went on, I saw a little bit more of the routes where he had trouble finding a hole, slammed into a pile, fell forward for a yard or two. And at times that's okay, but I need to see that kind of consistency, the kind of explosiveness to find holes, hit them, and push through. The most disappointing effort on offense for me by far was Christian Ponder. I hate to throw this on him because I do want to see him succeed. I think that he is an NFL quarterback. He's not, in my opinion, a starting quarterback anymore. At least not in Minnesota. That ship has sailed.
That ship has sunk. That ship is the Titanic.
Personally, and I hate to say this because it's kind of a jab at him, but at times during the Oakland Raiders preseason game, I was questioning whether or not Christian Ponder was putting forth effort. And you never want to do that from an NFL player.
Well, let's hear...
That's how I felt.
Okay, let's hear Kyle Smith's take on the team, and then maybe we'll kind of round robin back, because I want to get some Teddy Bridgewater talk out, and then we can kind of loop back to Ponder.
All right, guys. I told everybody, I told the guys on here, I'm in a band. I didn't get to watch the game. I did a lot of extensive reading, thanks to, here's the plug, thevikingage.com with Mr. Adam Carlson. I looked at the stats, and exactly right. I want everyone here to listen and focus. Oakland with its first team D. Yes, it's vanilla, but I said it last week. They have an improved defense. Okay? Justin Tuck, they've had some good signings. And Khalil Mack. I mean, I love you, Anthony Barr, but I would have took Khalil Mack over you in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. They've got good pieces on defense. And without, key word there, without Adrian Peterson, they marched up the field. And kudos to you, Matt Asiata, picking up right where you left off from last year, the last game of last year, running it into the end zone. Good for you. I don't care if it was a 1-yarder. Do your job.
Right.
Know your job, do your job, and he does it. I love that the ball was spread around. And like you said, the stuff that I did see from Cordero in highlights, you can tell he's been focusing on improving on the places that he had a really big knock on him last year. Kyle Rudolph, good for you. You almost got a touchdown, which, I saw that. You should have gotten one. But, hey, he's doing his job. His foot seems to be better. Teddy looked like a rookie, and I'm not mad at him for it at all because you know what a rookie looks like? Capable, but nervous. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. He showed his capability. He had times where he was nervous. It's okay. I have full and utter faith that will slowly but surely ease out within the next couple of games. And by week 3 or 4, whenever we name Castle the starter, I'm going to go ahead and call it probably. He'll probably play the whole freaking game on the fourth preseason game. Get as much reps as you can, and we all know Teddy is good for that. I just want to say kudos Kurt Coleman making the diving effort to get that pick. That was awesome. And that was a guy that we almost drafted, I thought. Derek Carr, good for you. But just overall opinions, I like what I saw, but I'm going to agree with Mike Zimmer on this. You can't take the fourth quarter off. It doesn't matter what string you are on the team. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the first team's going to play more and more so they can get used to playing a full game against a different team. But, I mean, you got to be happy a win is a win. It was first team doing their job, and I think everybody should be excited because I think it's only going to get better, and we didn't lose anybody from offense. So we're going to be improved everywhere. So should be excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to talk a little bit about Bridgewater and Ponder now. I was, like you, Adam, that first play that Teddy had where he came out and he rolled out to his right or left?
Yeah.
I don't remember which side. Anyway, they rolled him out and he just absolutely zinged in that first pass. I looked that play, that was impressive. Unfortunately, there was a flag on that play. And then unfortunately on the next play, Charlie Johnson ends up 10 yards down the field as an ineligible receiver, and I don't know what was going on with that crap, and there was another flag on that play, and then on the third play, guess what? There was another flag, and poor Teddy, I think that kind of, I don't want to say it frustrated him or got him thrown off his game or whatever, but I know he had said...
I think it took him out of the rhythm.
Yeah, I know he had said previously that he wasn't nervous about playing in the game, but come on, let's be realistic here.
You gotta be.
The guy's, 21, 22, playing in the NFL for the Minnesota Vikings for the first time. You gotta be nervous. You gotta have butterflies on that one. So, yeah, whatever, he looked like a rookie, and I'm fine with him looking like a rookie because it's preseason. Now, I do Like you guys said, eventually when it comes to preseason game 3 or 4, maybe you're going to see him play longer for an extended period of time, maybe even start for it. And that's the game where I want to see him settle down more and make more of the positive plays and maybe not look so nervous. But I think we've got good things to come from Teddy Bridgewater. His size, Adam, does scare me just a little bit.
Could be concerned, but you know what? It'd be funny. Go watch the Cleveland Browns, because I did watch Johnny football.
I know. Yep.
And he is tiny. Tiny.
Johnny Football is going to be Johnny Concussion, the way he runs around. But I hope that I know the Vikings will be smarter with Teddy Bridgewater, because he's not going to be running read option stuff. So if he does run around, it's going to be on like designed bootlegs or when the play breaks down. And I know that he'll be smart enough to get himself out of bounds or slide and not put himself in harm's way. Ponder, really quick, looked like a guy who did not want to be out on the field. I got that exact same thought from it, Adam. To me, when I was watching him, I didn't want to boo. I didn't want to wish him bad luck. I just kind of folded my arms, took it all in, and went, here is a guy who looks like he would just rather be at home with his wife and daughter than playing for the team. So, you can make the case for you should have that emergency third quarterback, but at this point, cut him and keep an extra defensive back, because I really don't know what you're going to gain by keeping Ponder on the squad at this point. Because if Castle goes down, if Bridgewater goes down, you might as well just sign Joey
You might as
Herring.
well throw McKinnon in there.
Wait, Tebow's out there, man. We can pick him up.
You might as well sign Tim Tebow and have him play, because your season's pretty much shot at that point. Ponder's going to be gone. I would rather keep some extra defensive player at that point anyway. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on those two.
Now, we've been hearing a lot of people saying that the Vikings have already drafted wrong, that Johnny Manziel's the future because they thought that he played very well. Well, here's the bottom line on that.
Yeah, here it is.
Whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, whether it's Johnny Manziel, or whether it's Blake Bortles, the 3 first-round quarterbacks that were taken in the draft this year, none of them led their team into the end zone for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. They all have a lot of work to do. And that's what this preseason is for, is to get them together with their teammates and get an offense that they can run efficiently. Now, should we be concerned that there weren't any touchdowns scored by these guys in the first preseason game? Not really. But it would be reassuring to see at least one of them take the reins from what some people are calling a really shallow quarterback class to just come out and play. Now, I know Teddy Bridgewater isn't going to get the yards on the ground the way that Johnny Football is. He's not going to have the long bombs down the field the way Blake Bortles is. But Teddy Bridgewater is one of those guys that plays smart, plays safe, and the more experience he gets on the field, the better he will be. So be patient, sit and watch. When Teddy Bridgewater is ready to take over the starting job, it'll happen. Will it be in preseason? Maybe not. Will it be during the regular season? Probably not. But one thing we know for sure is that this will happen eventually. So just keep watching and enjoying the ride.
You know what, guys? You know what scenario I would be fine with Teddy Bridgewater? And a lot of fans, rightfully so, they see guys like Colin Kaepernick or Russell Wilson go out there and they can just play so well in their first year that, hey, as a Vikings fan, you want Teddy Bridgewater to do the same thing. I understand that. But would it be so bad to play Matt Castle for a full season and look respectable, maybe be an 8-8 team or something like that, whatever? It's rebuilding, but 8-8 would be like a respectable rebuilding or somewhere around there. And maybe Teddy comes out in year 2, having a full off season to watch tape and to go through all the stuff they do at practice and whatever, and get another training camp and then come out in preseason and look really good and look like the face of our franchise. I would be perfectly okay with that scenario.
I would be fine with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Vikings have to put the quarterback on the field that gives the team the best chance to win. Right now, that is Matt Castle.
Definitely.
So all this, who should be starting? Right now, it's Matt Castle. Until Teddy Bridgewater can prove that he is ready.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about defense for a little bit.
Let's do that.
Guys that really impressed me on the defensive side of the ball, Corey Wooten. I really enjoyed watching Corey Wooten. He had 1 sack and 3 tackles, constant pressure. He's a guy that I really enjoy having there on the team. He was an under-the-radar signing that I think is going to pay dividends.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that I really liked was 7th-round draft pick Shamar Stephen. In the middle of that defensive line, he held his own, did a great job, found himself involved in 5 tackles. He could actually become a really solid backup in this league, so I'm excited to see what can happen with him. Anthony Barr got his hands on a quarterback for the first time. Ended up with half a sack on a play, so that was real nice. More impressive than that, though, to me, was the fact that he dropped back into coverage more often, and he wasn't picked on. He wasn't a liability. And for a player that's supposed to be that raw, that's only played linebacker for 2 years in college and is being thrust into professional football right now, he is taking this responsibility so well and performing well on the field. Anthony Barr is just blowing my mind.
I'm excited for that. I'd like to piggyback on the Corey Wooten deal that we got. I don't know if Mike Zimmer is going to rotate a lot like he did in Cincinnati, or having a concept like just having depth everywhere like Seattle, but he is definitely one of those guys you can count on when our starter needs to take a break to come in, because he's got great experience. And to go for the Anthony Barr sack, I got to see the highlight for that. What I saw when I saw that highlight was a guy who didn't give up, and that's the first thing that you have to have is heart, which I love. But now that you're saying he was dropping back in coverage more, he wasn't scared to do that, I see him as the Cordero Patterson of the defense. The potential for the guy is limitless. And deal with growing pains this year, whatever, but he's going to be a beast, and he's going to make some flashy, splashy plays. There's a reason why we took him number 9 overall. And
his size and athleticism are just crazy.
Yeah, he's a big, big dude, which I'm all for. And I love the fact that even though he's going to be a linebacker on paper, we can still maybe sometimes plug him in at defensive end, or he can just speed rush from the middle. I don't care. I like all of his capabilities. I think the biggest place he's going to have to improve on is trying to play in coverage, which, that's, in my opinion, if I was going to be a linebacker, I would just love to rush all the time. But
that's a challenge for any linebacker.
Yeah, it's going to be growing pains there, but I'm excited to see if he works on that and can get it all down, because just like you said, his speed and his raw athletic talent, getting to the quarterback's not going to be that big of an issue. Now, if he can beat them mentally, he's going to be awesome. So you guys should be really excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Another guy that made a good impression on me was safety Kurt Coleman. I enjoyed watching him play at the safety position there, and I think that it's going to come down to him. And I'm actually really expecting big things out of Chris Crocker next week. So I'm not sure what's going to happen at that safety position because of all the injuries and all whatever happened there. I don't really know. The Vikings did lose Mr. Raymond with concussion-like symptoms during the game, so that was a bit of a blow. But Kurt Coleman made the most of his opportunity and could actually find himself in a starting role if he keeps playing up to the way that he did in this game.
Love the effort.
He was asked recently, about being brought in, and, he made it pretty clear that he didn't come to Minnesota with the intent of being a backup. Like, he wants to play. He wants to start for the team. For defensively, I kind of wanted to take it a bit of a different direction because I knew you guys would have plenty of players to talk about. So I wanted to talk a little bit about George Edwards, the Vikings defensive coordinator, who I think for preseason week 1, uh, I like the play calling from what I seen from him. He was not afraid to throw some blitzes out there early in the game. You seen some different kinds of looks for the Vikings from what we were used to seeing with the Tampa 2. Now, I know that when you talk about the Vikings defense, you can't just talk about George Edwards, because obviously Mike Zimmer is the defensive mastermind for this team.
That's true.
And yes, he is going to be the head coach. He is the head coach of the team, so his stamp is going to be all over. But specifically, I think you were going to look at this defensive side of the ball to see how his coaching influence really comes out. And I think it was a good first effort. I am looking forward to seeing more of the actual game plan for how George Edwards and Mike Zimmer are planning on running this defense, but it's definitely nice to see an end of the Leslie Frazier Tampa 2, which was just mercifully beat into the ground and taken out behind the woodshed and shot at the end of last season. Like, that is gone. We're going to have some different stuff to look forward to seeing, and I am excited to see it.
Let's be honest, the first and second team defenses were dominant. The Raiders struggled to move the ball at all. I don't think in the first half did they get past the 50-yard line?
No, they did not.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know the Raiders aren't an offensive juggernaut, but still, for a defense that is this early in the making to come and work against a team that does have some established veterans. I mean, Matt Schaub is a veteran, believe it or not, even though he makes a lot of mistakes. This Raiders team struggled so badly that it was just unbelievable. I don't know if it was their struggling, the Vikings having a great defense, a combination of the two. It was probably a pretty good combination of the two, but still, I'm glad to see the schemes, the ideas, the personnel for the Vikings come through and play at that high of a level.
I'm excited. I'm excited that I might actually get to watch the game Friday, but it's all that you could expect from a game for it being preseason, and we still got a victory out of it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of pieces. We had way more positives than negatives, so if we can keep that up, I mean, we should be in great shape.
Can we all agree that Adam Thielen was a player of the game?
Oh, yeah. How'd we go this far without mentioning Adam Thielen? I think Adam has locked himself up a roster spot.
Yes, Cordero endorsed that the other day. He said he'd be very surprised if he is not on the team. I love his work ethic. You guys called him Mr. Mankato. He definitely knows what it's like to put in the work and improve. So good for you, sir, because you have done nothing but improve since you've been here. And I'm not going to be surprised one bit if he gives Jarius Wright a run for his money.
True, I could see the Vikings keeping quite a few wide receivers, especially if Jerome Simpson has handed down a bigger suspension, because so far I haven't heard much at all about that.
Me either.
I'm waiting to hear what's going on with that situation.
I think either way, the Vikings could probably get away with rolling with. So I couldn't even think of his name. Jerome Simpson and Adam Thielen both being on the roster, because we know that Simpson is on another 1-year contract, and maybe you don't know what happens with him at the end of the year, but you got Adam, who maybe can continue to flash and continue to work throughout the season, can maybe step up and fill in his roster spot next year if he doesn't come back.
I did do some research, and I did find out that although Rodney Smith was elevated to the regular roster last year and did find some game time action, he is still eligible for the practice squad. So the Vikings may try to sneak him under the radar if they want, or they might make him on the active roster until Jerome Simpson comes back, depending on how long the suspension is and what the Vikings plan to do when they find out how long it is. But there are some really cool competitions to watch in camp. I want to say one more guy that impressed me was Gerald Hodges in this game. He looks like a guy who's really fighting to get time on the field. Whether it's on special teams or on defense, I was impressed with his motor, his ability. He blocked a kick, a field goal attempt that I just loved his hustle on. So Gerald Hodges, you got a thumbs up from me. That is all that I believe we're going to talk about this week for the Vikings versus Raiders preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
Next week's going to be a little tougher, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Now, that defense is a little different from this Oakland Raiders one. Going to be a little stiffer. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be interesting to see how the first and second team offenses work against this defense. Matt Castle has been named the starting quarterback for that game. Not sure how long he'll play. I don't think head coach Mike Zimmer has a lot that he needs to see from Castle, so I wouldn't expect more than a drive or two at most. But again, watch, because Teddy Bridgewater will probably get a bulk of the play again, probably leading into halftime, maybe even a little after.
I honestly don't see any reason not to harp on the subject that much, but do we really need to see any more from Christian Ponder at this point?
Personally, I say no.
Haven't we had enough long years of Christian Ponder? We know what he can do. I think Teddy needs the reps.
After his performance against that third-team defense, I just it blows my mind how he couldn't take advantage of that situation.
I would be surprised underneath this coaching staff, who demands as much accountability as you know that Mike Zimmer and Norv Turner both do, that they would give Ponder that much of a look. I expect a lot of Teddy.
Yeah.
I would too. I'd expect a lot of Teddy. Lots of him. So that's one to look forward to. I don't have the time on the game on Friday. That's one thing I don't have. Do you guys know when that is?
Stand by. I'm going to Google it. We're going to plug the Viking Age.
I want to
I
say...
like plugging the Viking Age. That's good stuff.
I'm going to guess 7:30. But I could be totally wrong.
All right, here we go. Schedule. We're totally professional here, by the way.
Normally I got all that info.
No, it's fine.
Google. That's what
Hey,
it's good for.
you know what? If there's one thing we're good...
7:30 p.m. Central Time. 7:30 p.m. Central.
Yep, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Tune in for that one on Friday for sure. You're going to see a lot of talent. You won't see Adrian Peterson on the field, though, at least not playing a snap. He'll probably be on the field just hanging out for a little bit before or after the game, but you know
He'll be
what
dressed.
I mean.
He'll be dressed, but he won't play. You don't need to.
No. Otherwise, you'll see most of the Viking stars you know and love. You probably won't see Cordero Patterson returning kicks again. It sounds as though head coach Mike Zimmer doesn't really want Jerick McKinnon doing that anymore, though. So overall, it's interesting to see who is out there fighting for their jobs. And I just love watching camp competitions. I do. All these players fighting so hard to achieve their dream, make a roster, get some playing time, make a name for themselves, make money for their families. Oh, it's a rush to watch. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could be there.
Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about as far as the Vikings-Cardinals preseason game?
Nope. Tougher
nope.
opponent, but it'll be fun. Yeah, we'll be back here trying to get to you as soon as we can after the game's over, isn't it? What is it? What day is that? Is it Friday or Saturday?
It's Friday.
Yeah, I don't know. You had the schedule in front of you, man.
I did. I got rid of it. Yeah, like I said, totally professional here. But no, it should be a good test. It's going to be a tougher team. Like I said, 10-6 last year. They didn't make the playoffs in the hardest division in football. So Bruce Arians is a great coach too. But be fun to watch. A good
Absolutely.
test.
And that's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, just want to thank everyone who followed us on Twitter over the past week. Well, everyone who follows us everywhere, but especially since I'm the Twitter guy, I got to give a shout out to my Twitter followers. We had some good conversations while I was up there in camp. Lots of good feedback, even on some of the more random subjects for those of us that were talking about the roundabouts up there in Minnesota. That's another story I'll have to tell you guys later. But yeah, lots of fun. So thanks everyone for following us and whatever. Keep it up throughout the regular season. There will be, of course, lots more that I will be posting and talking about.
Absolutely. And check us out on Facebook. That's where me and Mr. Kyle Smith do a lot of our work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun there. I apologize for the situation with iTunes and Stitcher. Our host, we exceeded the bandwidth that we're allowed, which thank you guys for tuning in and listening and shooting our show just crazy up through the rankings, but I'm cheap and I haven't paid for the upgraded package because it's a lot of money.
Just remind everyone to, always listen to us on YouTube. YouTube is always a pretty
great
place to get to us. You never have to worry about bandwidth. You can, subscribe to us.
But you know what's better than YouTube? Every Purple People podcast episode, every recent episode has been uploaded to the Viking Age. You can get to it through there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's comments there too that you can comment on. We have quite a bit of traffic there. One of my favorite listeners, and I'll give you a shout out right now, Mr. Turd Ferguson. I know I gave you a shout out the other day, but man, you're awesome. Wanted to give one more shout out before I gave the sign out. I wanted to thank Dorian Foley. Really awesome guy. Sent me one of the coolest Vikings hats I've ever owned. I have a massive head. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but I have a large head and I have trouble finding hats that fit me. I live in the middle of nowhere. I don't know hat sizes worth nothing. Dorian hooked me up with an awesome hat, and I thank you so much for that, man. Because Vikings hats are always in style.
It's awesome. There's 2 more of us. I wear a 7.5. So, yeah. No.
On that note, I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.